So I think Henry and Herb, you two said you're going to be like a little back and forth talking about the administrator and teacher and GSA advisor perspective.
Sure. I want to ask something real quick too. Just
Sure.
before we forget, you students who are doing a good job with your GSAs, scholarships. These guys are great about giving out scholarships. So make sure, before we forget, Gleason, get on that website, because a lot of our GSA officers through Shadle get cash every year. So be aware of that. Anyway, so as long as I'm talking too. I love that I'm seeing people from our Spokane School District is a huge institution. And we see people from our equity board in the back row. We got principal from LC and a couple principals here. My principal, Shadle, apologize for not being able to be here. He's super supportive of our program. We got at City School, we have Havermill. Really cool seeing my colleagues administrators here. That's awesome. City Council representing. I mean, we all know John anyway, but it's great that he represents so well. So super excited to see you guys here, former school board members. It's great seeing you guys here. I mean, sometimes we, in the community of people trying to help GSAs and organizations like that, we seem to see the same faces a lot at the committees we go to. It's great to see some other folks here. That is great. So thanks for being here. I'm gonna be quiet for her talk for a second.
You are?
Yeah.
Thanks, Henry. I've long felt that the issue that we're trying to begin to address today is probably the most important social issue of our time. When we talk about creating safe environments for our children as they go through our educational system, it is essential, it's fundamental, and should be a top priority. When Henry and a fellow teacher by the name of Matt Inman came to me about 6 years ago and said, you know, we've got gay kids here who are not feeling comfortable. We have gay kids here who are being bullied and are being harassed. And the reason these two guys knew that is because they were so in tune with our students. It's one of the reasons why they were such exceptional teachers. And it immediately seemed like the right thing for us to do. We'd never had a gay-straight alliance at Shadle prior to that. And it was going to be an initiative in my mind that with the right people leading it was going to be transformational as far as our school is concerned, and truly creating a school culture and a school environment that honored, accepted, and created a safe place for all. And that's just something that we as a system have to pay attention to. We are so focused right now on written, taught, and tested and high-stakes testing. We're so focused on that as a system that we have placed very much on the back burner social justice issues. And I can tell you that if kids do not feel safe at school, if they feel anxious, threatened, they cannot perform. They cannot learn to the degree that they need to. And that is something that we absolutely have to acknowledge, and something that is just as important to address as any of the written, taught, and tested initiatives. And so when we went forward with this, that was really the goal for us, was to transform our school. I took our staff through a training on something called complex trauma. Kent Hoffman, who is here, lives here in Spokane, is an expert in complex trauma. Young kids who are in complex trauma have a very difficult time learning and concentrating. And it can be for a number of reasons. It can be because of homelessness. It can be because of drug and alcohol abuse at home. It can be because of being bullied and threatened. But what we do know is that when students are in a complex trauma state, they are in a heightened sense of emotional emergency, and psychologically they are not capable of paying attention and concentrating. Complex trauma is different than PTSD. In PTSD, we already know, the importance of recognizing that and the debilitation of PTSD. The difference between complex trauma and PTSD is PTSD, the event has occurred and it's over. And you're in the process now of trying to assimilate that, try to make sense of it, and get your life back in order, which is very, very difficult to do. In complex trauma, it's a recurring event. You just don't know when, but it's going to happen again. Gay kids, the level of bullying and harassment that has occurred in our educational institutions over the years creates for many of our students a complex trauma situation because they don't know when, they know it's going to happen, and they know it's real. And so, as Ian was giving some statistics about kids who are gay, lesbian, in our schools, they have a very difficult time moving through our system and being as successful as they deserve to be and as successful as they ought to be. So this was a very important initiative for Shadle Park. And what I do believe, the success of the GSA at Shadle for the past 6 years has created a school where we have much more sensitivity, much more acceptance of all students, be it gender, be it ethnicity, be it
Physical handicap, anything
physical
that isn't
handicap,
perceived
race,
as mainstream.
and sexual orientation as well.
I think it's really commendable when I hear Prep, East Valley, CV. I mean, I went to Gonzaga Prep, Central Valley, and OMAC high schools, and I'm loving hearing you guys here. I'm loving the East Valley where my mom just retired. East Valley has a GSA, give me a break. That was as unlikely as Shadle having one. I'm loving that you guys are out there fighting the fight. And what we're talking about is making a safe place. Once the word GSA is at the school, once we know that there's that nervous freshman who doesn't know how to be a good self-advocate, there's a GSA at my school, wait, there's a teacher, there's an advisor here, some of that stress just slips away and they can just, some of it helps. They know there's a friendly face. They're going to get called this name or that name or shoved in the locker or shoved into that locker, but they know that the school, there's a safe place for them. And at Shadle, if you were at the talk we had last year where we had Dan and Terry come and talk about it gets better at Shadle. You heard what Terry had to say about Shadle. It's a place where he'd get his face rubbed in the snow and just beat up and harassed, and he didn't feel safe at all. Right now, if a kid gets shoved in a locker and called a negative slur, that might still happen at Shadle. But no one's turning a cheek, and the other kids in the hallway are going, dude, what? Why'd you just do that? Are you serious? Instead of high five, yeah, you got that guy. Now it's like the bullies can be like, oh, that's not cool here? My bad. And then the kid who just got shoved in the hallway is like, seriously, what are you, like 1982 here? Give me a break. So at Shadle, in 6 years, we've created an environment where literally the kids just, they're going to hear a negative slur. Someone's going to harass them a little bit, maybe, but it is not a norm, and they know they can go, shut up. And the kid's going to go, I better shut up because this school doesn't put up with it. And we did that in 6 years. It's
one of the things that I think is very, very important is the professional development and training that need to be delivered to staff, the adults in the school.
I'd like to speak to that. Craig Nakagawa, Jade's father, and give you a little more perspective of who I am. I'm an ordained Presbyterian minister, and I'm a captain, active duty in the United States Air Force. And so I'm a chaplain here at Fairchild Air Force Base. When Jade went to start her GSA at Central Valley High School and approached a teacher about sponsoring it, being the administrator, the faculty advisor for it, the teacher was on board. And when Jade came back the following week to meet with her, other faculty and staff had met with her and told her that this would not be a good thing for her to do. And so this teacher told Jade that she would sponsor the group, but she would not be involved. And she would not advocate for it and promote it, but she would, sign off on the things that needed. So right from the beginning, my daughter following the rules to charter a group within the school, within the system, immediately from an unexpected source met resistance. So she immediately found herself needing to find another administrator, another faculty member that could sponsor this group. As she moved forward, she was dealing with posters being torn down in the school, and teachers, faculty members, administrators not really taking corrective action towards that. Oh, kids will be kids. And wanting to sponsor a T-shirt for her group, she and her group came up with "Educate, Don't Discriminate," and the administration immediately shot that down, saying you cannot have that T-shirt for your group. You can come up with another saying, but not that one.
It's pretty inflammatory, huh?
And yes, absolutely. And
You
then
should see our t-shirts.
the final straw for me was when a boy in Jade's lunchroom approached her and was calling her a fucking whore and several other derogatory things. And gratefully, I've raised Jade to be strong and independent. So she stood up to this boy, and it got into a row. And long story short, a few days later, a week later, Jade was called into a counselor's office. And unbeknownst to Jade, in that counselor's office was this boy. He did not prep her, he did not prepare her, he did not tell her. So she totally felt ambushed walking into that office with this boy that was physically threatening her, verbally harassing her, sitting there. Long and short of it, Jade ended up, the counselor made Jade apologize to this boy. I was not happy. I was not happy. Needless to say, I went down to the school and I lit up that counselor for the 4th of July. With the vice principal there, but what frustrated me is this was a trained counselor. They have their degree in counseling. And this was happening. You know, I have a master's in divinity and I do a lot of counseling, but I do not sell myself as a professional counselor. And even I could see the problem with that situation, and I cannot believe that it was a counselor perpetrating it. And so I am very much for education of faculty and staff.